Hollywood. It brings to mind the glamour, the lights, the stars, the sparkle, everything that makes a girl like me happy. And for that matter, men, grandmothers, and even children. In the last episode, Hollywood Part 1, we strolled down the Walk of Stars back in time to the golden days of Hollywood to explore the question how and did Hollywood empower women. What we found, besides a quick stop to a mall for cupcakes, a luxury theater, and sampling strange but delicious food at a night market all in Southern California, was surprising but also empowering. So much so that we had to have Part 2 separated. Dealing with today's Hollywood and the women in it is what this episode is all about. So, let's get started. Hi, I'm Kailin Gow. When 9/11 hit in 2001, I thought the world was ending and decided to pursue what I have to do, write one book. Years later, I wrote 250 and sold millions of copies of books for all ages. In fantasy, romance, YA, children's, science fiction, thriller, and mystery. But in the back of my mind, as in all my book series, I've always kept the purpose of why I started writing, to learn and share about social issues and to highlight human strength and hope, especially in trying times. The world has become more visual, and voices are rising. Many of these voices are women and minorities, and others who didn't have a loud voice as before. So, with the Go Girl, we follow these voices, including mine, to explore this changing world and how women and anyone who has a world, a voice, can go to see and go become the best person they are meant to be. Here's Kailin Gow's Go Girl, and I am your host. What do you think when you first think of Hollywood? Bet it was the iconic Hollywood sign. Then you think of movie stars, the Walk of Fame, shopping. Hollywood has made the world much smaller, and people can see how everyone, despite race, gender, ethnicity, and hair color, are the same. Except in Hollywood itself, there is something different, a kind of sparkle, a kind of something else. Hollywood has always been a place on earth illuminated with stars. People like bright, shiny things. We are born that way. Even as babies, we reach out for the shiny keys with our baby give me hands. What exactly is Hollywood? A place? A town? It is both of those things and more. There's a mystery here, yet there is also a coziness, a familiarity, thanks to the magical films and shows we see, many of which are made right here in Hollywood, right here on movie sets and studios like this one, Warner Brothers. How many of you watched Gilmore Girls or Pretty Little Liars? Shot right here in Warner Brothers. Who had friends who watched Friends? Who tuned into The Big Bang Theory? All on a set of Warner Brothers Studios. On a studio set, or even around town in Hollywood, people are working around the clock to make these stories come alive. Even at an apartment like this one, it was magically transformed into Julia Roberts' Pretty Woman balcony. Wedding Crashers, the film, was filmed in this church in Hollywood. Hollywood, there's so much to see and do and eat. It's been entertaining folks since the early 1900s. Hollywood Boulevard itself was a street lined with studios. Now it looks like this. Contrary to popular beliefs that the early days of Hollywood was dominated by men, I found that Hollywood was really built by women and immigrants, people who were incredibly creative and couldn't find creative work otherwise. To show how Hollywood was incredibly empowering to women in the early days, over half of the films before 1925 were written by women. Alice Guy was one of the first directors, not only a female, but also a studio head. One of the most innovative directors in the early days, who also acted as the lead in her films, was Lois Weber, who was one of the first to use split screen and scene within a scene filming. Not only that, she was the first woman to direct a feature film, earning herself a place in the Go Girl Hall of Fame. Then there was Frances Marion, who was the highest paid writer, and she was a woman, who also won 2 Oscars for films that were not weepy, so-called feminine films, but films like The Champ. Then, in Northern California, I discovered there was one of the first Asian American director who happens to be a woman, named Marion E. Wong of Oakland. An old film was discovered which brought out her obscurity as an early woman director who directed and starred in The Curse of the Quan Guan, when the Far East mingles with the West, which came out in 1916. As the first and only film made by an all-Chinese cast and an all-Chinese company. She was also the president of the production company. Way to go, girl. Believe it or not, I didn't believe it at first until I dug deeper into Hollywood's history. Many early films were made by women. Alright, Go Girls, but here's the thing. Many earlier films of these women were lost, or the women were not credited. Now, that isn't such a Go Girl thing to do. But when silent films were replaced with talkies and people in Hollywood were paid more because of talkies, women's dominance in Hollywood began to shift. Talking films made production costs skyrocket, so East Coast banks and businessmen entered Hollywood, making it a big business. More men began working in Hollywood when they saw that films were more than just an hobby, but an opportunity for real work and employment. And also, that pay was increased. Sadly, we are led to believe women did not enter the film industry until much later. And history has been written to exemplify the male counterparts of these women film pioneers so that their accomplishments were forgotten. One of the biggest stars and head of production was a sweet petite waif known as Mary Pickford. She and Douglas Fairbanks, her husband, also formed the United Artists Company, along with fellow actor Charlie Chaplin. This petite powerhouse also built the Roosevelt Hotel, where the Academy Awards were once held. Mary Pickford and her husband Douglas Fairbanks even bought real estate in places that were wilderness, places such as Mulholland Drive and the area near UCLA, and even Beverly Hills. Many stars follow in her footsteps, living in the hills and canyons above Hollywood and Los Angeles. So, who really owned Hollywood? She did. She didn't care that people saw her as cute and petite. She pretty much owned Hollywood, literally, at one point. Although the percentage of women directors have fallen in the past few years for big-budget, blockbuster studio films, women in Hollywood in powerful and influential positions have risen. I've met several and have been impressed that today's women of Hollywood, like our older sisters before us, are just as glamorous, poised, feisty, smart, and dynamic. They are women who are making an impact. There are more women studio heads and network presidents today than a few years ago. Women who have the power to hire more women directors as executive producers, showrunners, and directors. It's time to give these women some recognition. don't you think? Women like Sherry Redstone, who is president and vice chair of Viacom and CBS, Donna Langley, chairwoman of Universal Pictures, Dana Walden, co-CEO and chairwoman of Fox TV Group, Bonnie Hammer, chairwoman at NBC Universal and Cable Entertainment, Stacy Snyder, co-chairman of 20th Century Fox, along with Emma Wattis, president of production at 20th Century Fox, Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm and also known for Star Wars, and of course Oprah Winfrey, CEO of OWN, Jennifer Sulke, president of NBC Entertainment, Sue Crow, president of marketing and distribution at Warner Brothers Pictures, and there are many more women in production positions and also in management. Let's not forget the women around the world who are making amazing films and television, especially in writing where the story takes root. In Korean K-dramas, most of the television writers are women. In Japan, many of the mangas and anime shows are written by women, kind of like myself. And in the US, many authors whose works are adapted into television and films are women, like the authors of Hunger Games, Divergent, and Twilight. Hollywood was and always will be a special place memorialized by dreamers and doers. It's a place built on big dreams and even bigger imaginations. Come for a visit in Southern California's Hollywoodland and get inspired to dream big too. So, set your mind on go and go for it. This has been a Girls Will Be Girls production. California is rich in history, settings, and people that inspire stories. Many of my books take place in California, such as Never Say Never, The Blue Room Serial, Saving You, Saving Me, Loving Summer series, The Protégé series, Beautiful Beings, Post Vampire series, Rock Hard, Love Hard, and Post-Apocalypse Circus.